Good morning and welcome to Village Enterprises Voices of Tumaini. We're thrilled that you could join us, and we're looking forward to taking you on a journey to rural East Africa and bringing you stories of hope and inspiration, as well as insight into how we plan to transform the lives of millions of Africans in the years to come. At Village Enterprise, we believe in the power of hope. Each and every one of us hopes for something each day. We can all relate to hope. It's part of the human condition. It's what keeps us motivated and inspired. It's what keeps us moving. Nobel Prize winner Esther Duflo asked the question, is there something fundamentally different about life under extreme poverty? What would it do to you to have no way out? To live in an area with no money, very little food, no access to education and medical care, and perhaps even an oppressive force that keeps you in extreme poverty. Extreme poverty extinguishes hope. Over 40% of the population in sub-Saharan Africa live in extreme poverty. And the World Bank estimates that an additional 23 million people will be pushed into extreme poverty because of the COVID pandemic. And while the number of ultra-poor people in the world has been cut in half in the last 20 years, more people in sub-Saharan Africa now live in a state of extreme poverty than ever before. Village Enterprise aims to change that. We reached an important milestone last year. 1 million Africans are no longer living in extreme poverty because of our poverty alleviation efforts. 1 million people have hope for the future thanks to your support. We didn't achieve this milestone on our own. We've worked with many partners over the years, partners like you, partners who believe in our mission of ending extreme poverty through entrepreneurship and innovation. Partners who also realize that people living in extreme poverty with the right resources and skills can lift themselves out of poverty. Partners who also believe in the power of hope. We've also made sure that our work has real impact through rigorous measurement and evaluation, continuous program improvements, and innovations like the Village Enterprise Development Impact Bond. If we want to bring hope to millions more, we know that we need bold plans to make that a reality. Unfortunately, even the best laid plans can be derailed amid an unexpected global health crisis. When the coronavirus pandemic caused us to shut down our operations in March, our first commitment was to ensure the health and safety of our staff and our business owners. We knew that we were uniquely positioned in East Africa to respond to the crisis and provide our business owners and their families with the resources to build resilience through this pandemic. And from the beginning of the crisis, we responded by checking in and providing remote mentoring to thousands of business owners. We completed a disbursement of grants using mobile money, and we launched design challenges to develop an all-digital version of our program. We helped our business owners identify solutions to the challenges they faced and gave them targeted training and mentoring. I'm happy to report that these efforts have paid off, and our business owners are bouncing back as markets have reopened. Also, right after we all went into lockdown in March, we started a collaborative process that involved everyone at Village Enterprise, our staff, our board, partners, and donors like you. We set out to develop an ambitious strategic plan that will lay the foundation for lifting 20 million Africans out of extreme poverty by 2030. You'll hear from several of our staff members about what we will be prioritizing over the next 3 years and why they are excited about the plan. Personally, I'm most excited about the transformative impact that we'll have in the lives of so many women, children, and men in areas of Africa that have been hit hard by the economic fallout of the COVID pandemic. Girls and women like Anne and her Tata Margaret. As you will see in the video that we're about to show you, the Village Enterprise program brings hope and a better future to entire families for generations. Anne and Margaret are just two voices of Tumaini, 2 of a million, voices of hope.
3,998.
16,701.
70,063. 102,005.
959,300.
Village Enterprise has transformed 1 million lives. And I am one, thanks to my Tata Margaret. This is her story. My Tata is the strongest woman I know. When she was my age, life looked very different for her. She loved school, but she had to leave to work in the fields and help her family. Tata says her djembe felt so heavy when she hadn't had breakfast. When she became a mother, she vowed that all of her kids would have full bellies and big dreams. But when drought and sickness came, and then a war broke out, she feared her children's stories would look much like hers. Until my Tata met Aluka. Aluka told my Tata that there was a new group in the community called Village Enterprise and invited my Tata to join. Aluka said she could become an entrepreneur. Tata said she was skeptical, but also excited. She went to the first training and realized this could be the opportunity she needed. She loved being back in school, learning things like how to keep her box, make a business plan, and how to save money. She felt like a different version of herself. Tata, the businesswoman. She liked it. After her training, she and her 2 new friends bought sheep with a seed grant provided by Village Enterprise. The sheep had many more sheep, so then she bought goats and a cow and a bull, and the cow gave birth to a calf, so there was milk. With lots of hard work, my Tata grew her business. She was really good at running a business. She expanded to start selling citrus and then other produce too. For the first time in her life, she could choose how to spend her own money. She met other women like her. They were all entrepreneurs and were part of a savings group. They supported each other in their businesses. When someone's crops failed or husband got sick, the group could help them until they could get back on their feet. They discovered they were stronger together, and everything changed for her family. Because of her successful businesses, my Tata was able to feed her children nutritious meals, buy medicine when they were sick, and keep them in school. My Tata even saved enough to send my mama to university, where she became an accountant. By the time my mom had me, it was never a question of if I'll be able to go to school, but what would I study in university and what job would I have? Tomorrow I will start secondary school. Tata says she is proud of me, that I will become more than she ever was. But I think I want to be just like her.
Thank you everyone for joining us. My name is Winnie Auma. I'm the Vice President of Programs for Village Enterprise and your MC today. I want to start by re-echoing Diane's words and send a big thank you to everyone on this call. Those of you who have walked this journey with Village Enterprise, those of you who have just joined us, and those who will join us. In the words of Martin Luther King Jr., if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But by all means, keep moving. This is the spirit that has described our entrepreneurs, our organization, partners, and all supporters. Throughout these difficult times, we have not stopped moving. In the video, Anne and Margaret reflect on what we have achieved with 1 million lives and what is possible with 20 more million lives by 2030. For the past 10 years, I have seen the transformative power of our program. When I'm out in the field, I get to talk to women. I talk to girls. I talk to men. You hear statements like, I feel powerful. I'm in control. We are confident our business will bounce back. It's the idea of multiple income generating activities and not just one business that I see. The ability to pivot, expand, diversify, add value, or start a whole new business is what makes our entrepreneurs resilient and hopeful in the face of uncertainty. We are excited about the possibilities ahead of us. And as I think of the new strategic plan, I'm most excited about program innovations that will allow Village Enterprise to promote gender equity and ensure minimal environmental impact. We have 5 strategic priorities. So today we have 5 speakers, each briefly presenting a priority. We are focusing on stories to bring our strategic priorities to life. At the end of their presentations, we shall have a Q&A session. So if you have already not sent us your questions, please use the chat box to send them to us. We shall then go through these questions during the Q&A, and if we don't get through to answer all of them, we shall email written responses. With that, let me invite our first speaker.
I am Nancy Chumo, Country Director for Kenya at Village Enterprise. I've worked with Village Enterprise for 4 years now. I got interested in working for Village Enterprise due to its mission that seeks to address poverty through entrepreneurship, a strategy that has proven effective using my family as a point of reference, championed by my parents over 50 years ago. So I survived poverty to be a medium for propelling the same in many communities I work with. Also to me, this is an opportunity to join other change agents to elicit multiplier effect in households. Our priority of entrepreneurship as a strategy to end extreme poverty can be realized through a number of objectives. Firstly, establishment of enterprises is a proven and sure vehicle to lift the ultra-poor out of poverty. My father engaged in horticulture and later transportation business as an alternative means of livelihood and survival. He did not make it in education because he was orphaned at a tender age, while his foster mother could not afford to take him through high school. He became successful through apprenticeship and mentorship from a successful businessman in his neighborhood, which enabled him to gain skills and capital to start his own enterprise. And he also made partnership with 2 of his friends, one with driving skills and the other with additional capital. As a family and generations after my father, we are enjoying the benefits of economic empowerment. At Village Enterprise, we will support entrepreneurs to protect their local environment where they establish enterprises that are profitable, climate smart, and environmental friendly. Enterprises such as Tree Nursery have not only provided income to households, but supported reforestation efforts to combat effects of climate change, support soil conservation, and protection of water catchment areas. 80% of our full-time entrepreneurs are women, and that improving our programming to increase gender equity is a key priority. To meet our aspirations of reaching 90,000 households and impacting 600,000 lives, we seek to expand our cost-effective micro-enterprise program to other parts of sub-Saharan Africa. This year alone, we plan to start 6,000 small businesses, and we seek an annual increment of the number of enterprises established in Kenya and Uganda by 20%. To facilitate realization of this objective and expansion to new countries, we will pursue to develop geographic selection criteria that will enable us to prioritize the poorest regions and marginalized communities, including Rwanda, Democratic Republic of Congo, and at least one other country in Africa. These initiatives facilitate us to intentionally impact the lives of extreme poor in a positive way. We'll continue to improve our model to cause high impact in a cost-effective manner. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Liz Corbishley, and I'm Chief Scaling Officer with Village Enterprise. I'm based in Nairobi, Kenya, and I've been living in East Africa for the last 9 years. Over that time, I have seen a lot of development done not as well as it should be. And one of the things that attracted me to Village Enterprise 3.5 years ago was Village Enterprise's commitment to collaboration and partnerships. This is the second priority area for this new strategic period, and this is the one that I want to talk to you about today. We recognize that partnerships are essential if we're going to achieve our mission to end extreme poverty. The only way that we're going to be able to have the reach and the scale that's needed is if we work in collaboration with other organizations. And we're going to be bringing our best selves to the table and working alongside organizations that are excited about the challenge to end extreme poverty and believe it is possible and are bringing their best selves to the table. We recognize that it is only through partnership that we are going to be able to achieve our mission and to reach true scale, and that we bring a piece of that puzzle and other organizations bring other pieces of the puzzle where they might have experience that we don't, or they might have access and reach that we don't. I want to give one very brief example of a partnership we are currently working with, and this is World Vision in Mozambique. We are working with World Vision to reach people that have been impacted by the cyclone and are now facing additional challenges from COVID while they're in displaced settlements. We're going to be working with them for the World Vision team, the field team there, to run the Village Enterprise program. And so we're supporting them to recruit the staff, to train the staff, and then providing the technical assistance as they deliver the program to make sure that it achieves the impact that we desire. Now, this is already a difficult challenge. We are working in a different country, we're working in a different time zone and a different language. However, COVID has made it a new level of challenge. We are having to use technology in a way that we've never used it before. And we're really having to troubleshoot with World Vision the entire time to try and figure out the solution that is going to get these people living in extreme poverty impacted by the cyclone, the small businesses that they really need to support themselves and their families. We've got the training next week, so we're excited to see how that goes. Hopefully what's come through this very brief update on partnerships is that Village Enterprise genuinely is committed to partnership, and it's not a tick box for us. I'm really always excited to talk about partnerships. And so if you feel similarly, or if you're a partner that wants to find out more, please get in touch. Thank you very much for listening.
My name is is Meshack Mbinda, Director of Technology Solutions here at Village Enterprise. I'm here to speak about the third priority of our strategy, which is using digital solutions to revolutionize small business development in Africa. Now, when I went to my first computer programming class, I was quite excited at writing my first line of code and making the computer do something. I then told myself, wow, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Then after this, my first job was to develop applications for NGOs. And when I understood the mission of the development world, I cracked myself out of the coder shell and asked, how can I make technology work for people and change people's lives? So my journey to join Village Enterprise was triggered by the 2015 Sustainable Development Goals and reflecting on the village I came from and how lifting people out of extreme poverty will solve more than half of the Sustainable Development Goals. So my vision here at Village Enterprise is how technology will solve most of the pressing challenges relating to poverty and contribute towards attainment of SDG 1, that is to end extreme poverty globally by 2030. So why do we have this priority why do we have this as a priority in our strategy? Now, the change that we desire will cost longer time, more effort, and even more resources if we continue doing things the way we have done them traditionally. And technology has grown and presented us with opportunities to do more with less, to accelerate scale and greater impact without necessarily multiplying resources that we invest. So how are we going to achieve this? One, thinking outside the box, approaching problems in new, innovative ways, conceptualizing problems differently. And closely attached to this is trying crazy ideas, which if successful, will be game changers to the way things are done, not only here at Village Enterprise, but across the poverty alleviation space. And again, also working in collaboration with other players across other sectors, such as mobile network operators, funders, implementers, and learning institutions. So what are the components of this priority? One, there is a digitization design challenge, which is underway, looking at how do we increase scale and impact through digital solutions. And just to explain what a design challenge is that our innovations are developed using the human-centered design approach, which centers development of innovations and solutions around the people they are designed for, generating ideas, testing with target users, and scaling what works. Secondly, enhancing digital literacy and human capacity, just to ensure that all our frontline staff are at comfortable points of conveniently using technology, tools that are at their disposal. Thirdly, building strategic partnerships, and as I mentioned earlier on, with other players across other sectors, including funders, service providers, mobile network operators, and other implementers. This will ensure that we synergize our strengths and deliver greater impact with digital solutions for our entrepreneurs. Fourthly, integrating our systems to ensure that we have visibility of data across program implementation, operations, and even at management level. And lastly, for technology to effectively serve its purpose with success, the need to incorporate professionalism, best practices, and alignment to the overall organizational strategy is key. So we are building a technology framework that makes effective use of resources, resonates well with the overall organizational strategy, while at the same time mitigating possible risks that could emanate from inappropriate use or even an adherence to international standards and best practices of the technology discipline. So I want to thank you very much for your interest, and I'm super delighted to have had a chance to share with you this important piece of our journey to end extreme poverty. Thank you.
I'm Terry Shiundu, Director of Talent Management at Village Enterprise since January 2019, and I'll be focusing on the strategic priority 4, world-class African team to achieve impact. Having been born and brought up in the city of Nairobi, I got to see extreme poverty firsthand while pursuing my undergraduate studies in India. And I cried seeing women and children suffer due to societal ills. And I wondered what difference could one person make, but it stuck with me. Mother Teresa said rightly that we ourselves feel that what we are doing is just one drop in the ocean, but the ocean would be less because of that one missing drop. On my return to Kenya, I got to volunteer and work with various organizations with a goal of impacting lives through my work in administration, and later moved to HR through encouragement from a mentor. Helping people and bringing the best out of them has always been my driving force. And the opportunity at Village Enterprise opened the door for the possibility of continuing the journey of fulfilling a lifelong dream, of transforming lives, giving them a chance to be better, and seeing the ripple effects in the communities where we serve. This is why I'm so excited about the HR priority goal of building a world-class team that exemplifies our core values of Ubuntu, each of us belonging to the greater whole. We serve people living in extreme poverty with respect, empathy, and dignity, regardless of their ethnicity, gender, religion, or even education level. And we value our common humanity. We are passionate about our work. We are innovative. We work with integrity and focus on sustainability while leading at every level in Village Enterprise. You've probably heard of the famous quote by management guru Peter Drucker. Culture, it's strategy for breakfast. Not to sound cliche, but an organization can have the best strategy in the world without a committed, passionate, and innovative team, an effective team with a proper culture. It just remains that, a good document. Our people make all the difference in implementing our strategy with the overarching goal of ending extreme poverty. It will take a collaborative effort of the entire village, from the executive leadership, the senior management team, the coordinators, and our frontline staff working with our communities directly, everyone leading at every level, bringing their best in the game. Michael Jordan, one of the best basketball players of our time, said, "Talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence wins championships." For us, ending extreme poverty is the championship that we are working towards at Village Enterprise. So we will achieve this by, one, identifying, attracting, and retaining top talent at each position that allows Village Enterprise to achieve its strategy. Two, championing career and professional growth for all our employees. Three, strengthening and promoting employee understanding of the Village Enterprise culture and the values for a positive work environment. And finally, fostering a diverse and inclusive workplace. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking your time to join us and be a part of this. Thank you.
My name is Taddeo Muriuki, the Vice President for Africa Operations. I've been working in Village Enterprise for 7 years now, where I started off as a Kenya Country Director before moving to my current position this January. I was attracted to working at Village Enterprise by seeing how a small organization can have such an audacious goal of tackling one of the biggest challenges facing sub-Saharan Africa. Observing the transformative impact of the work we do, I am reminded of one of the most famous quotes by Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. Today, I am privileged to be talking to you about our strategic priority 5, funding to drive results. Village Enterprise will unlock funding for innovation and scale and play a leadership role in establishing results-based funding for poverty alleviation. So you may ask, why is this important? Village Enterprise has set the audacious goal of lifting 20 million people out of extreme poverty by 2030. To achieve this goal, we have to come up with innovative funding mechanisms that allow us to scale. The concept of results-based financing, in which payments are linked to performance, has gained traction over the past few years as a potential tool to increase the efficiency and effectiveness of development spending and programs. We have seen this firsthand with the implementation of our current Development Impact Bond pilot. Here, we have fast-tracked developing performance dashboards that enable our staff to make data-driven decisions and providing tailored support to each of our business groups. The mindset shift we've observed from focusing on activities to focusing on outcomes for our entrepreneurs has been truly a game changer. So you may ask, how are we going to achieve this priority? Village Enterprise will build on its base-setting Development Impact Bond alleviation that was launched in 2017. We plan to work with investors, donors, and governments in scaling up a model that focuses on delivering outcomes while attracting much-needed support to help end extreme poverty for millions of individuals. We will also continue to grow diversified sources of revenue from corporate and private foundations, as well as individual donors who provide the critical and restricted support we need to innovate and scale. So what are our specific goals and objectives under this priority? First, we want to secure and begin a second larger results-based funding contract. Second, we want to develop the internal support structure required for a new fundraising approach that focuses on impact and outcomes value proposition as opposed to one based on program activities. Thirdly, we want to further expand our network of funders and supporters like you across the United States and internationally. We remain to be deeply grateful for all your financial and moral support in helping us end extreme poverty in Africa. Asanteni sana. Thank you very much.
Thank you everyone for listening to all of our speakers today. We're so excited that you could join us today. And we want to move straight to our Q&A session. It just started raining here, so if by any reason my internet gets interrupted, don't worry, we have a backup MC. And if we don't get through to all the questions, we shall make sure that we email you written responses. But we are so excited you're here. And so moving forward, I would like to start passing the questions to the different individuals that you have just heard from. And our first question here is coming from Debbie, and I would like to pass that question to Dianne. What do you find most disruptive about this new strategic plan?
Well, thanks, Winnie, and thanks, Debbie, for the question. As you've all heard, we have a really ambitious goal of lifting 20 million Africans out of extreme poverty by 2030. And we know that we can't do it alone. And so what I think is most disruptive about this strategic plan will be our work with governments and larger NGOs to scale our work across Africa. As Liz mentioned earlier, we just launched a partnership with World Vision in Mozambique. And we just 2 days ago signed a really important and big contract with the government of Kenya with funding from the World Bank. We'll be working with our partners, the BOMA Project and GDI, and the Kenya government will be looking to potentially integrate this kind of programming into their social protection. We're also working with the government of Rwanda, and we'll be launching our program in Rwanda this year. So I really think that's going to be extremely disruptive in our ability to really scale and bring this program to millions of Africans. But Winnie, I'd also like to turn it back to you and ask you what you think is most disruptive about this strategic plan.
Well, Dianne, thank you for passing that back to me. I think Debbie can remember a couple of years ago coming out to the field here. If you go to our offices, you'd see stacks and stacks of paper. Our field team was heavily using, paper to do everything. But such a big contract in just the last couple of years, we are now using tablet-based interactive training videos. We are doing mobile transfer, some of the things that Meshack has talked about. And so for me, I think that technology is going to be a big part of our strategic plan that's really going to be disruptive. And the fact that we're doing all of these design challenges that are going to help us extend digital advancement to our entrepreneurs is really going to be something that I think will continue to be a big part that will enable us to continue to scale and grow our impact as we grow as an organization. And thank you, Dianne, for asking. Our second question is coming from Emily, and I'd like to pass this question over to Nancy. How does the work Village Enterprise is doing encourage entrepreneurship while focusing on fostering gender equality?
Thank you, Winnie, and thank you, Emily, for asking that question. At Village Enterprise, we are cognizant of the communities that we work with. We are also aware of issues of inequality that play into struggles with community development, struggles with addressing poverty. So firstly, we are addressing this inequality by being intentional about involvement of women in our program. So our targeting approach is sensitive towards inclusivity of women and enrollment of women into our program. Secondly, our entrepreneurship curriculum has a component that encourages women to participate effectively in the program and also to get support from family members and also the entire cohort that we are engaging with in business and also in training. Thirdly, among others, is governance of the saving groups. We have encouraged women to take leadership positions. We have encouraged women to participate effectively and contribute their ideas into the business saving group, including even their decisions when it comes to enterprise management. And thank you, Emily, for asking, and back to you, Winnie.
Thank you, Nancy. And Pat, a question from Pat, and Pat, thank you for your question. And I'd like to direct this question to Terry. How do you promote Village Enterprise strong culture and values to create a positive work environment?
Thank you, Winnie, and thank you so much, Pat, for asking. That's a very good question. As I had mentioned in my introduction, a good strategy without a supportive culture really remains just that, just a good document, and nothing much happens. But we need the people who are motivated and who are driving the work behind accomplishing that strategy. And so with Ubuntu being our true north, we are deliberate, especially in the last, as we began this year with a new strategic plan, we are deliberate about ensuring there's information flowing throughout the entire organization, that we are working together from the top leadership all the way to the frontline staff who are directly linked to their communities. And with this, we recently introduced the CFR model, which is a conversation, feedback, and recognition that goes hand in hand with achieving our objectives and key results, where we have more conversations going on, at the lower levels, at the higher levels, and every level of leadership, including our field associates, are having these one-on-ones with their teams, and no one is really not aware of what's going on within the organization. And also with that, we encourage also the staff at the lower levels, the frontline staff, to bring back feedback to the leadership. And so information is flowing, and we are able to meet the needs of our communities and also meet the needs of the staff in a timely manner. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Terry. And I have personally enjoyed our recent conversations on culture, on values, and generally how all of that relates to everything that's happening in our world, in our space. So thank you for sharing that. A question from Katie, and I would like to direct this question to Meshack. Is there a specific digital technology that you see most promising for your program participants?
Thank you very much, Winnie, and thank you, Katie, for this question. And one of the things that I would wish to remark is that we are still a way off in terms of operationalizing high-level technologies like the AI and machine learning for entrepreneurs. However, there are those technologies that based on the operational inconveniences such as cost of access, infrastructural challenges, just using the mobile phone in a simple way, like using the ordinary tools in the hands of our entrepreneurs to achieve extraordinary results. For example, exploiting the power of mobile money. We are, as Dianne mentioned earlier, is that we are disbursing our grants using mobile money, but we can still do more. Look at tracking the flow of grants and integrating with savings and feeding back to our ordinary reporting and access to this information across all the levels. That would provide a very significant game changer to how we use technology across the board. And again, still capitalizing on the power of the mobile phone, we are able to use something like, I call it Zoom in the village. For example, a simple mobile phone, which is not a smartphone, can even support group calls, whereby despite people being in various locations, they're able to get into a call between 5 or 6 or 8 people and have a discussion around mentorship, have a discussion around the progress of their businesses, have a discussion around discussions that will reduce the number of in-person visits and increase efficiency. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Meshack. Our next question is from Bob, and Bob, thank you for your question, and I would like to direct this question to Liz. What are some lessons learned from current partnerships with large NGOs and governments, particularly when scaling with them?
Thanks, Winnie, and apologies, I've just had a power cut. So I'm sat in the dark, but connected by my mobile phone, so I think I'm okay. Thanks for your question, Barb. For those of you who don't know Barb, she is our chair of the scaling committee on the board. And so Barb and I have been tackling this question over the last 3.5 years and have had many conversations about it. I think there are two main things that I'd like to share we've learned. So the first is that partnerships take such a long time to develop. It's very much worthwhile, but it does take a lot of discussion, a lot of relationship building, and then it takes the right opportunities to come along. So as a good example, the World Vision Mozambique project that I just shared, I first met World Vision in Mozambique in July 2018, had a really great conversation with their office and their years for the right funding opportunities to come through. And so that's the second thing I wanted to share. It's not just about the relationship. You then need to have the right funding come in. And at the start, I think we were quite naive. We thought that if you're a big INGO, you've got millions of dollars in the bank account, this is going to be possible. But $1 million is a lot for any organization, no matter what size they are. And I think we really learned that in the process.
Thank you so much, Liz. And I'm sure your site is not a strange one, especially for a lot of us who are in this side of the continent. So thank you for being able to connect on your phone. Our next question is coming from Sophie, and I would like to direct this question to Taddeo. What are your research plans on programs' long-term impact?
Yeah, great question, Sophie. We do get that asked that quite a lot. So just to start from a background, we already have a randomized controlled trial under our belt, and that's the gold standard for evaluation. That was done a few years back, and it produced positive results where we saw increased consumption and increased assets among our business owners. Currently, we are in the process of a second but much larger randomized controlled trial where it spans across both Uganda and Kenya. We started that about 2 years ago, and right now it's on the tails end of the implementation process, and then hoping to have the evaluation done by an independent evaluator early spring in 2021, barring COVID restrictions. So that's something we are looking forward to, and we do know that part of the evaluation is also going to be looking in terms of sustainability, because we also had groups who started out about 2.5 years ago. But then once that is done, our next plan contingent on that is coming up with a longitudinal study that is going to help us to really measure the long-term impacts of our program. So we're really excited. We have all these research plans, and really want to come up with an evidence-based data to show how well our program is working. So thank you for that great question.
Thank you, Taddeo. And Sophie, I hope that answers your question. Great question here from John, and I would like to direct this question to Meshack. How do you train and empower entrepreneurs to implement human-centered design practices in their business challenges?
Thank you, John. And to just very quickly put it into perspective is that HCD is a process that involves the individuals who the solutions are designed for. And what we do is throughout the 3 stages, inspiration, ideation, and implementation, we ensure that the entrepreneurs participate. For example, interrogating, of course, in interviews and group discussions with them, what they have access to, what works for them, what information will provide the best opportunity to grow their businesses in light of the circumstances they live in. Mentioning affordability to technology tools, mentioning the limited infrastructure or access, based on coverage, especially in the remote rural areas, which is where they live in, and including this limited access and directly involving them in testing new solutions. So what works and meets and ticks these boxes is what is ripe for scale. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Meshack, for sharing that. Our next question is from Muriel, and I would like to direct this question to Karen. Muriel would like to ask, what is your talent management strategy, and how do you source talent locally?
Thank you, Muriel. Just in a brief, for our frontline staff, we recruit within the communities where we work in, considering issues of language and the fact that they have to be able to interact directly with our business owners and meet the objectives of the project. And so we recruit within the communities using the local leaders who are able to share with us the they're able to share our opportunities. We also are now working with the county governments in various areas, especially in Kenya and in Uganda. We are using also the local leaders in the process. For higher level senior or middle management positions, we are in various networks. We have a HR system that we use where candidates can send in applications. We use also the referral model where our staff can refer good candidates, and we have hired quite a bit of staff through that model, and it's working for us, especially being that the graduation space is not too wide. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Terry. And our last question goes to Taddeo. Unfortunately, because of time, we'll not be able to get through to all the questions. Taddeo, this question is from Susan. How has the nature of extreme poverty changed over the last 5 years, and how do you expect it to change over the next 10 years?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say, what's happening, we see in Africa, and especially in places like in Kenya, you're seeing a growing divide. You're seeing people who are getting, a lot of people who, we have a growing middle class. We also have people are getting very wealthy, but at the same time, you're also seeing quite a big group of people remaining to be disproportionately extreme poor. So I would say that people do feel disenfranchised. People are feeling very angry. People are feeling, left out. A lot of government programs that well-intentioned, but ending up leaving out people who are living in extreme poverty. So I think it's that that kind of nature where the growing divide between the rich and the poor that's really becoming quite pronounced, I would say. But I think, as we go on, we have all these technologies Meshack has mentioned. We think that by using digital technology, by deploying mobile money, we are going to be able to solve some of these problems. And, these are some of the technologies actually accessible to people also living in extreme poverty, and having those kind of technologies being used, I think we do feel that we're going to have an impact.
Thank you, Taddeo. So unfortunately, we can't answer all the questions today, but we shall make sure to email responses for all the questions we have not been able to answer. And even when you think about a question later, please do send that to us and we'll be happy to respond to you. With that, I want to say thank you, and I would like to pass it over to Dianne.
Well, thank you, Winnie, for being our MC, and thanks to all of you in the audience for your great questions. As Winnie mentioned, we'll be getting back to you. There are many questions that we couldn't answer today, and that's really exciting to see that you're also interested. So we'll be sure to get back to you. We're launching this strategic plan during a really difficult time for our country and our world. A time when so many of us are feeling, at least from time to time, a sense of hopelessness. Many of us have lost loved ones, jobs, or simply the ability to gather together with our friends and family. I know it hasn't been an easy time for me. And still we have so much: a roof over our head, enough food to eat, and we have hope. Hope that there'll be a vaccine, that our economy will bounce back, and that we'll once again be able to socialize freely with our friends and family. Close to 500 million people living in Africa in extreme poverty are also dealing with the pandemic, but they don't have so many things that we take for granted. I'm always so inspired by our entrepreneurs when I go out to the field, and I'd like to close with the story of a woman that I met in the Bidi refugee camp in Uganda. Her name is Salome. It means peace. Tall and graceful with high cheekbones and a big smile, Salome was just 30 years old when I met her in 2018. She introduced herself as a mother of 8 and explained to me that one of her children had already passed. When I asked her about her husband, she said that she didn't even know where he was or if he was even still alive. She was forced to flee her home in Juba, South Sudan when war broke out, and had to walk for 2 months with her 7 children, ages 1 through 12, carrying one on her back. There was very little food, and the threat of violence was a constant fear. They drank water from the rivers and slept in the bushes at night. And when she arrived in Uganda, all she had were the clothes on her back. There was little room for hope or dreams for herself and her children, but that all changed when she met Helen, a Village Enterprise business mentor and a fellow South Sudanese refugee. Helen offered Salome the opportunity to participate in our program. She talked to me with excitement about the butchery business that she was launching with her partners. They believed that a butchery business would provide the meat that is missing from the rations provided by aid organizations. And when I asked her what aspect of our program was the most important to her, her face lit up when she talked about our training. When she lived in South Sudan, Salome stayed home to care for her children. She had never run a business. So she was excited that the new knowledge and skills that she had gained from the training would remain with her always. Like most refugees, Salome hopes to return home one day. And when she does, she said that she will use her new skills and knowledge to start another business. She confidently declared, "No one can ever take that away from me." Having lost a husband, a child, and her home, Salome is now rebuilding her life. With the support of her business partners and her business mentors, Salome finally feels a sense of hope. Her determination to make a better life for her children was palpable and real. As she walked away from me with her group, Salome held her head high and smiled. Our program is truly unique in the refugee settlement areas and the rural villages in which we work. While traditional aid and handouts create dependency, Village Enterprise creates self-sufficiency. When reliant on aid, people feel that they have no control over their futures. They feel helpless and hopeless. Investing in human capacity builds hope and creates new opportunities for growth in even the most challenging environments like a refugee camp. It's our goal to lift 20 million people like Salome out of poverty in the next 10 years. I hope that you leave today feeling inspired to help us bring hope and a better future to women and children like Salome, Anna, and her Tata Margaret. Because where there is hope, there is possibility. Thank you for joining us today and for believing in the power of hope.
Dropping,